Midwest. We live in Michigan, and although it's not the biggest market for swimming pools, there's a decent market here. For me, when I got involved many years ago, the company built really basic swimming pools, and I love the more creative. I had to come about the better clientele and the bigger projects kind of through experience. For me, I had no idea how I would get there. I just knew I wanted to get there. There were just a few companies that did stuff completely different than me that I loved, and I really was always in awe of what they did. How they established, I don't know, but I know how I established. Having seen what they were doing and realizing there's a different level of clientele there, somehow they're getting that client. Now, that wasn't my client. I can look at the projects that they did, that's not my client. But what I did was, I knew what I could do, and I pushed. And really it started in my head. The idea was, how could I find a client to do this different thing? For me, I started with that. I said, I want a client that I could try this with. And believe it or not, those clients showed up. We didn't change our marketing, we didn't change our paper, we didn't change our advertising in any way, but the people started showing up. And I think really they showed up by just being there and me suggesting, what about this? And they said yes. Now, if I look back at a few years ago, I would have thought they just magically showed up. But the reality is, I would sit in front of a client and I would say, what about this? The next thing I wanted to do, I would suggest, and some of them would say yes. So it was almost like by magic they showed up. And the reality was, it was me implementing that idea, putting that idea into their head, and them saying yes to it. So we started growing this thing that we did, and then we tried something new, and we tried something new. Now, we never gave it away. That's probably the thing that saved me. Was I've heard a lot of guys say, oh, you got to give away stuff to learn how to do it. I never gave it away. I always knew that I would figure out how to do it, and I charged for it. Now, there's a lot of stuff we didn't make a lot of money on, but we learned how to do that next step, the next thing. And what happened is, we were doing those basic projects, and then we were doing a little bit above that and slowly growing, and it went from doing, $25,000 pools to 30, and wow, there's a big step, and then 30 to 40 was a huge step, and then before long it was 40 to 75, and that didn't feel like such a big step. And then 75 to 100 was nothing, and it's like, well, if I can do a $100,000 pool, why couldn't I do more? So it was really getting out of that basic mentality of how can I do more than what I've already known how to do, and that was really difficult. But once that first step or that second step up, then you realized, well, if I can do 50, why couldn't I do 100? If I can do 100, why couldn't I do $150,000? And that was the process. And how we found our client was simply talking about what we were doing and what we wanted to do, and interviewing our clients, saying, well, what did you like, what didn't you like, what could we do better, all the typical questions, and then gearing our marketing toward that. And I think it's the intentions. If we know what we want, we attract that into our lives. And sure enough, the right customers showed up, and wealthier customers, people that had money. I would say that our customer is buying a lifestyle. We got very specific about who we wanted to work with. Now, going from the 25 to 30, 35 to 40, 40, $50,000 pool, it's kind of all the same, a little bit different. But to take that step from 50 to 100, or 100 to 150, or 150 to 200,000, I think those steps require to really think about, really require or help if you think about the customer. What do they look like? What do they want? What are they buying specifically? I think if you're selling a $50,000 pool, that's the general market. And anyone that's going to get an in-ground pool probably could get that somewhere in there. But if you jump and double that or triple that, you've got to think about what the customer is wanting and why they're spending that kind of money in their backyard. And what it boiled down to us was lifestyle. We realized that it was people that were buying a lifestyle. They were no longer buying the ability to impress their neighbor that had a pool and now they have a better pool. It was no longer, how can I keep up with the Joneses next door and how can I also have what they have. Instead it was, I want a lifestyle for me. How can I create this space that my family and I can enjoy, that we can create a lifestyle around and that we can enjoy as a part of who we are, not caring what the neighbors say, not caring about anybody else. how could we build a lifestyle for us? And that's what we did. And once we recognized that, and we recognized the type of customer that was, it became easy to market to them. We knew where we could look at where they were and how we could put a message in front of them specifically, which, quite frankly, we all have that opportunity, which is online. Once you realize and you take the time to learn who you are, then you learn who the customer is, and it's fairly simple. It doesn't require a whole lot to get your message in front of that group of people. Now, what we did have to realize is we're really kind of a specialty niche artistic pool market, not just custom pool, but really artistic in our flair and quirky and different. Everyone's not going to be attracted to that, and that's okay. But the ones that are become raving fans, and they love it. And part of that marketing is knowing how to talk to them in their voice, not in yours. Most people market in their own voice. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with my client. So we're marketing and talking in their voice, so that resonates with them, and therefore they choose us.